If I know that I'm going to have in depth conversations with someone over a period of time, I generally have a version of this very conversation. So the story goes 5 years ago on Labor Day weekend, it was Saturday morning. I woke up and I didn't know it at the time. Something happened overnight that would affect my life from that point forward. So I got up feeling great, bright and early, drove to Dunkin' Donuts to get a cup of coffee and a bagel. When I pulled up to place my order, I discovered I couldn't talk well enough to place an order. And I kind of regrouped, slowed down, and I was able to kind of get the order done in a fashion. And what I didn't know at the time, at some point overnight, a clot moved to my brain, and it was very specific. It affected a very specific part of the brain. It's called Broca's area, and that's one of the two main communication centers of the brain. So I knew what I wanted to say, and I was thinking the way I always had, but I couldn't make the words. I couldn't find the words. I had the ideas, but I couldn't make my body say the words. There was a disconnect. So, come to find out, it's in my case a fairly mild case of aphasia. But here's the thing: the brain doesn't recover when parts of the brain are dead. They don't come back. However, I was able to recover a lot of my speech, basically because I'm using different strategies and techniques to kind of work around what the doctors would call a deficit. So generally what happens with me is I have to put a lot more thought into speaking, normal conversation. You'll hear me take a quick pause, and what I'm doing is lining up the next 3 or 4, 5 word phrase. Then I'll line up the next 3 or 4, 5, 6 words. And it's more effort and thought and concentration is required, but at the end of the day, it works. So that's my particular aphasia. That there's a lot of different degrees of aphasia, and there's different types of aphasia. Here's the thing. When I was a teenager, I remember I had to go to the doctor for something, and they ended up sending me to a specialist, and they told me that I had a fairly minor congenital back defect. And I remember the doctor telling me at the time, he said, "Man, you're never going to be working with your back, or you shouldn't." So he said, pick a career where you're not going to be using your back. So I picked a career where I talk for a living. Go figure. Initially, I was a disc jockey. Then I became a salesman. I made my living talking. So now I'm back to sales. I find that I'm able to talk. It doesn't come nearly as fluidly as it used to, but I can do it. The amazing thing is I can talk again today, and the one thing I'm going to do is not ever take it for granted.